When a loved one dies, there are no words to describe the feeling. Through all the pain and heartache, having to deal with the routine of everyday life can make the situation even harder to bear. From the intriguing details of the widowhood rights to the final journey from pain to purpose, this soulful experience ignites a flame of hope in times of adversity. These are the words captured in the blurb of the book titled Strength in the Storm, authored by Mrs. Matilda Amissah Arthur. When we get back, I'll be talking to her. Mrs. Matilda Amissah Arthur, thank you for coming on Time with David.
And thank you for having me.
Your husband has been dead now almost, 16 months?
Yes.
How have you been? Because I get the feeling you were very close to your husband. How have you been?
I'm well.
Good.
Very well. I say I'm blessed.
Yeah.
I'm blessed because, as you know, it was a sudden death, very devastating.
Yeah.
But a year on, I'm smiling, so I'm blessed.
Yeah.
I'm blessed.
You know, the death of the vice president had so many little stories running around it. I did a little research and I was told that he wasn't carried to a hospital in any pickup or anything. This is a tough subject for you, so please feel free to ignore me if you don't want to. But can you tell us about that? I mean, that's not correct, is it, that there's all these funny stories about him having been taken to the hospital in a pickup?
What happened was Friday, 29th June. For the last so many years, we go to the gym on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
Together?
Yes, the
you
Air
go
Force,
to the gym as
the
well
Air
with
Force
him?
gym.
You and
We've
with
been
him?
going for years.
Wow.
So he drove that morning. We went to the gym as usual. We get there at 4:30, and we leave at 6. He did his exercises. We were almost through. He went on the cross trainer, being the last exercise that he would do, and then he collapsed. There was a doctor, a member of the gym, who is a doctor, Dr. Natego of Rage Hospital. So she rushed and resuscitated him, checked his pulse, everything, and said, we should go to the 37 hospital. Simply because there was a very senior officer at the gym at that time. So he said, let's go to 37. 1 is closer, 2, I'm here, we can get attention quickly. So we went in a Benz. So the doctor and this officer said, if we put him at the back of the Benz, it's so short that we'll have to cramp him. So I have a pickup, a double cabin pickup. Let's put him on the second seat of the double cabin and let the doctor sit with him and I go with somebody else and then we go. So that's how we went. By the time we got there, he had called 37. So there were 2 doctors there. My son is a doctor, the wife is a doctor.
And all this time, the vice president is all right? All this time?
He had been resuscitated.
Okay.
So I called my son, I called my cousin also, who was a doctor. So we got there, they took him to emergency, checked his pulse, his BP, everything, and said everything was okay. So they transferred him from emergency to ICU. My son had come, my cousin, the doctor, had come. So there were 5 doctors there. So about 10 minutes after, they came and said to me that at this point, we were all standing there, look, and they came and said, look, everything is okay, he needs to be stabilized, and that we were not helping it by standing there and chatting and so on, and that I should go home and come in the afternoon. And my son said, Mommy, go home. And I said, no, I'll go home. I'll go and sit in the car if you think we are making a lot of noise. And so the doctor now from Rage, the one we went to, said to me, Mommy, you just go home. I'll come for you in the afternoon. So we left and went and sat in the car. About 40 minutes after, I saw the doctor now come out of intensive care and go another way. So I said to the lady I was sitting with that,
something wrong.
Something wrong, because now didn't come. So they came and called me. At that point, you know how you have this sense of
foreboding.
Yeah, foreboding. Yeah. So I got in and
They told you that
Yeah,
your husband
I
was
was told
dead.
that my husband was dead.
Wow.
Yeah. So I said to the doctor, I wanted a postmortem.
Yeah.
I wanted a postmortem because they had said everything was okay, pressure, a pulse, everything. They've checked, everything was okay. They need to stabilize him. So I was very surprised
Yeah, well.
what had happened. Plus, my husband was a stickler for health.
Yeah.
I mean, he does 6 months checkup. He didn't have diabetes. He didn't have pressure. He didn't have all those
So you
things.
wanted to know.
So I wanted to know.
Yeah.
So I asked for a checkup. But really, he wasn't put in the bucket of a, yeah.
But did you find out anything, or as usual, you just took it as, in the end, you wanted to know from a post-mortem?
Yeah, the post-mortem
Can't tell you anything, really?
results came. Didn't say
anything.
Yeah, anything. Yeah. Then to make it worse, people came with all kinds of conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
He was killed, something, poison, whatnot. In fact, some people even said I should go and ask for a forensic exam.
But you didn't want to do
But I decided that enough was enough. I mean, being a Christian, I know that if God doesn't want something to happen to anybody,
it won't happen.
God has that power not to let it happen. So once it happens, it means that God wants it to happen, one. Number two, for me, nothing would bring him back.
Yeah.
At that point, all I wanted was my husband to be alive. Yeah. And if anything I did would not bring him back, then it didn't make sense.
You were really close to your husband, right?
Very,
I get that feeling that you...
Very.
How long were you together? Is there a reason? You seem particularly...
40 years, 5 months.
40 years, 5 months.
We were married 40 years, 5 months.
And I realized that I looked at it, and if you don't, I read you've written a book about losing your husband. That was part of your process of healing? What made you do that?
No, what happened was, first of all, as a people, we don't talk about death.
Yeah.
Not Ghanaian, I think it's maybe African. We don't talk about death. Secondly, when a loved one, a close person dies, those who come around find it so difficult to interact with the bereaved.
Yeah.
To the extent that sometimes the bereaved feels like a victim. And if you read my book, I talk about even the way people talk, the things they say. You know, it's not as if people want to hurt the bereaved, but in not being able to find the right words, they end up being either callous or insulting or unconcerned.
I'll come to that. I want to talk to you about that as well. I found that in your book.
So you see, it's the lack of me, first of all, finding something to read
to
that would
comfort you. I mean,
if anything, make my pain less. Yeah. And I didn't find any. All the things you find are inspirational things, European, American things, that quite does not fit us.
So now you've got something that others also can.
So really, as I say in my book, it's not a blueprint. Because I can't tell anybody how to grieve. But I hope that somebody can read the book and find a line or a paragraph that will help that person in their grieving process.
Let me, it's funny, when I've got your book and I looked at it, and if you don't mind, I want to read a small piece. I'm going to the end because I was fascinated by your postscript. And it says, "Since you died, I've been lonely. I've cried my heart out, trying to understand why you were taken away from me, trying to understand the reason you died. As I look around, I see things that remind me of you. I see your smile. You had many dreams that were never told. So much hope for a brighter day. As I think of the day you died, what a life to take, what a bond to break. Why were you taken away? I do not still have all the answers, and I will not fully understand. But I know it was for your good and for our good. I know it was because your time on earth was done. It's hard with you not around, but I know you are in heaven, smiling down on us. I still cry. Oh yes, I do. I miss you so much. But now when I cry, I do not hurt. When I miss you, I do not hurt. I remember you with fondness. I remember the times we shared together when we cried and laughed, when we held hands and prayed, when we looked each other in the eyes. I recall all the dreams we shared together. You will always be in my heart. Memories of you give me the strength I need. Sweetheart, I miss you. You will always be a part of me. That is just so touching. I mean, and that's why I ask you about the kind of relationship you had with your husband. Maybe there's something we can all learn from it in partnerships over a long time. Do you want to tell me, Mrs. Amissah-Arthur, how you came to have such a special relationship as a couple?
Before I answer that question, I'll tell you something. In the gym, they kept laughing at us because they would go, didn't you come from the same house? Didn't you sleep on the same bed? Because while we were both exercising, we would go to each other and whisper something and talk like maybe 10 times before the end of the session. So they would wonder, you came from the whole house, why? And in Calvary Methodist, there's a couple who sat behind us. And the woman kept saying, the husband should look at us. Our heads are always together, we're always chatting, and they should be doing that. I think that it comes from years of being together. You know, when you marry, you are now beginning to know each other and study each other. And as the years go by, you know yourself so well that you become like even siblings. We've gone to places where people have asked, is that your sister? Are you related? Yes. And in fact, my children call us conjoined twins. I think it comes from years of having known each other, appreciating each other, and really loving and liking and living with each other. Because I keep telling people that when you marry, the longer you stay together, the sweeter, the nicer the marriage becomes. Because then he's not only your husband, he's your best friend, he's your concerned partner, he's your everything, if you know what I mean.
Yes, I do.
So gradually, that's the way it should. Any couple who after 10 years go their different ways must watch it. Because the longer the marriage, the closer and the sweeter you become.
Interesting. What kind of a man was your husband? How would you, if you had to describe him in a few words, what would you say? That's one. Two, is it true that behind every successful man there is a woman?
My husband was a very, if you like, private person.
I get that impression.
A very private person. Yeah. To the extent that if you do not know him, you will think he's a snob. Because he's the person who will not open up to you till he knows you really well.
Isn't that a bit like you?
On the other hand, I'm an extrovert. Like you? No, I'm an extrovert. I don't have to know you. If I meet you, I can chat with you, and somebody will think that I've known you for 20 years.
But not Paa Kwesi.
No, he wasn't like that. So we're different. We're different. I speak my mind. He doesn't speak his mind.
I think I know you speak your mind.
Yeah, even if he's hurting, he will keep quiet. I will tell you.
You're just like that. You just like to
I
speak
will
your
tell
mind.
you. Yeah. So his nature is the quiet one, and he's a technocrat. True technocrat. Work, getting results, that's him.
So you say politics found him, he didn't find him.
He couldn't suffer fools.
Gladly.
With all that, he couldn't suffer fools. He couldn't suffer fools, but he had a fantastic sense of humor. And those who know you can tell you that he has such a fantastic sense of humor.
He was not cut for the politics, was he?
Like I've said on many platforms, my husband was not a mainstream politician. He was a technocrat. And in politics, you have technocrats and you have mainstream politicians.
Right.
The difference is the technocrats who find themselves in politics concentrate on doing the work and getting results.
This is the case of your husband.
And this is the case of my husband. And I've said on many platforms, those who know him know that he has been in NDC since the inception. In fact, our flat in Legon was like a hub for the NDC people who would come and eat and so on. I didn't know how to prepare fettuccine. I had to learn how to prepare fettuccine because those who came loved fettuccine. And that is how NDC with Jerry Rawlings, with Kojo Chikata, with
Dr. Boche,
all of them would come. So he's been in NDC since then. But because he's not a mainstream politician, people did not see him on platforms. People did not see him outwardly talking.
That must have worked against him, I would imagine, not being... You know how we do our politics, don't you think so?
Yeah, but you see, in politics, you need a technocrat.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Do the work.
I agree with that.
You need a
What I want to
work.
understand, I agree with that. What I want us to get to, because, and I'm coming to something when I ask you that, because, or maybe I should just go to it, then you know why. When your late husband passed, you at the funeral spoke, as you say, you speak very directly, and you were like, "Is this Ghana?" I mean, I would like to let me just show you very quickly. I mean, what you said on that day.
Over the last few weeks, I've been amazed at the number of people who have come to show us love. And I ask myself, is this Ghana? Are all these people in Ghana? Because the maligning, the lies, the treachery, the wickedness, the deliberately changing things so that you could look better than others, the mischievousness. I ask myself, is this Ghana? I ask myself, is this my own husband that people have come to pay tribute to? And today, I ask the same question. Did people really know my husband? Did they take time to know him? The false accusations, the lies, the maligning, did they know him? My dearest, me, your children, Kwesi, Mami Boatema, Yao, Atre, your grandchildren, Emily, Kwamna, and Eliana, we knew you and we know you.
Why did you choose to say that then, that way?
On that day, if you look in the brochure, I had a tribute of, I think, 2.5 pages. So I summarized it into half a page. And that was what I started reading. Halfway through...
You just...
halfway through, led by the Spirit, I said what I said.
Led by the Spirit?
Led by the Holy Spirit, if I put it rightly. You know...
But the Holy Spirit doesn't normally want people to be so harsh. You were so... I mean, is that really led by the Spirit?
I wasn't harsh.
You were frank.
I wasn't harsh, I was frank. You know, when people are reading tributes, whether written or off the cuff, people are entitled to what they say and how they say it.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody can tell a grieving person what to say at a funeral and what not to say.
And normally they say all these good things.
First of all, you are not me.
Yeah.
So you cannot tell me how I should grieve to start with, and then how I should say it.
Okay, so let's talk about
all I said.
Yeah.
I didn't mention names.
No.
Coming from the background where the man lying there had been bastardized, had been called all kinds of names.
By some people.
Then the man dies. Yeah. And even those who had called him names come and they say, he's a gentleman's gentleman.
Right.
He's so intelligent. He's so hardworking.
You see that as hypocritical or something?
He's this.
Yeah.
So my whole point is that if this is politics, then our politics is wrong. Because you should not do politics in such a way that you lie. And then later on you come and you say something else and you say, I'm not speaking the truth. So the point I made was that hypocrisy, dishonesty, lies will not get this country anywhere, and that we should do politics neatly. And I go on to talk in the book that people, after I said this, bashed me. Some came and said the forum was wrong.
Yeah.
Two, some said I should have known because he went to politics, and that's what happens in politics.
Right.
I beg to differ. What other forum? What other forum than when everybody, Those who bashed him, those who didn't bash him are there. What are that for?
You had people there you wanted to hear that.
Unfortunately, I decide what I'll say and when I'll say it, and that is my opinion. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. I wanted the whole Ghana. So I started by saying, is this Ghana? So I wanted Ghana to hear this. And I wanted Ghana to begin to do politics differently, honestly, and neatly. Because I don't also believe that politics must be dirty.
Let's talk about other things that you seem like you want done differently in Ghana, because I find that you have views of quite a wide range of things. When I was looking at your book, there's a part you talk about like widowhood rights and the way they treat widows. Can that really change? I'm trying to understand what you're trying to achieve with that. Is that not the culture of the way people do these things?
You see, as I said in the book, some of the things that are done, when you understand the reason, you would realize that we have evolved, and therefore those reasons do not hold again.
Okay, but
for example,
right.
You are told that a widow should have their bath before 6 p.m. at night. I found out that it was because people lived in communal houses,
yes,
and they had communal bathrooms, and the fear was that at night you could hurt yourself when you are going to have your bath, or some insect or snake or something can bite you.
So do it when it's bright.
Do it when it's bright. Now we all live in homes where we have bathrooms inside the houses. So really, this does not hold. If you understand
so
me.
this is a widowhood right that you must have a bath before 6?
Yes.
Can you tell me anything? What else? I'm interested in this bit about widowhood rights.
Some of them also say it's actually cultural from place to place. And as I point out in the book, one of the widowhood rights is also that you wear black for 1 year.
You didn't.
You see, interestingly, the men are not asked to wear black for 1 year, but the women are asked to wear black for 1 year. My point is,
you mean
if it is
widowers?
Right,
widowers are not required to.
But widows are required. My point is, why the discrimination? One. Number two, as my late father used to ask, so if the woman is a matron in the hospital and she has to wear white and the husband dies, should she go and ask permission and wear black for 1 year? This is my father who used to ask this. I'm saying that, yes, black is a sign of mourning. In the olden days, women did not work. So if they were wearing black a whole year, there was nothing wrong because they didn't have to go to the office or something.
But
now women work.
How long did you wear it for, if I might ask?
3 months.
You took it off after 3 months?
Yes, I did.
In my book, you got tired of it.
In my book, I make a point that people should be left to do things as they want to.
That they feel comfortable.
And that number one, wearing black doesn't equate how sad you are or how you are grieving. And that wearing black is an outward thing. The inward grieving is an inward thing. It's an emotion that you feel. Perhaps the person who is wearing white is emotionally more drained than the person wearing black.
Indeed.
And therefore, we have no business saying, wear black. I took off my black in 3 months. My daughter was very pregnant. For those of you who saw her, she was near term. I wasn't going to wear black when my daughter has delivered.
So that's the
My
reason.
husband died in June. He was buried in July. My daughter delivered in August. I took off my black in September. After I'd gone to church and done the widowhood rights, I took off my black. So it was partly for my daughter. Okay. Secondly, also because black is gloomy.
Yeah.
Your husband has died. You are in so much pain. You are shattered. Then you have this black on you. Yeah. Plus, with the sunshine in this country, so it's so hot. You are wearing black.
Indeed. So, but it doesn't mean the grieving has ended, though. It didn't end after when you took off the.
Like what I say in my book. In fact, you never stop grieving.
Are you grieving now?
Yes.
You're still still grieving.
You see, let me explain grieving.
Please, go ahead.
Grieving is an emotion that you feel. You can grieve not only when your husband dies, even when you lose some money, you lose a job.
Yeah.
You can grieve.
Yeah.
Grieving is an emotion of sadness.
Correct.
Simple put, that's grieving.
Right.
Grieving can have its outward manifestation sometimes, and that is crying, that is mourning. So if you like, mourning and crying are grieving gone public. This is my definition. You can't find any dictionary.
Grieving gone public.
Mourning and crying
Grieving
is
gone
grieving
public.
gone public. So the outward sign of grieving can be your crying and your mourning. That stops at a point. You stop crying, you start mourning at a point, but you never stop grieving. The emotion is there. When we started, as we started talking, and you even asked about what exactly happened and so on, you were talking, I was still feeling the emotion, grieving. So that's why I say you never stop grieving. Can you imagine? You walk in the house, this person who was a key part of your house, my husband, is no more. There is no day, there is no minute that I do not think about him. So grieving never stops. When I launched the book, a dear friend of mine, whose husband had died 35 years ago, Auntie Safoa, came out and said, oh, she calls me sweetheart, I agree totally with you that we never stop grieving. My husband died 35 years ago. I'm still grieving.
She's still
and
grieving
people
after
were like,
35
hey, what
years.
is this?
Yeah.
But that's to explain to you that the emotion, the sadness that you feel always comes.
Is this just peculiar to you as a character, or you mean that's how people are?
I mean that's how they are.
Generally, people...
Generally, I mean that that's
it doesn't mean
how
you're a
they
weaker
are.
person.
No, it doesn't mean, because
doesn't mean
something will remind you of the person every day, every time.
Could be things like his clothes or something, as basic
So
as that.
I have a chapter on triggers.
Triggers for
I have
grieving.
a chapter on triggers. Triggers that will trigger your grieving.
Your grief, yeah.
For example, 2 days ago, somebody called me from the US, a video call. I didn't pick it up because this person hasn't spoken to me since my husband died. So this is the first we're going to speak. And I can't imagine having to speak this, but I knew we'll talk about it, and I didn't know how I could handle it. Yeah. So I sent her a text and said, please, let's continue, let's keep texting, and that I don't know how I can handle it. So these are the things that will let you, remind you, so the grieving doesn't stop. The crying stops, but the grieving doesn't stop. But just that the level of grieving becomes, if you like, lower. For want of a better word.
You also talk quite a bit about the way in Ghana people, communicate with the bereaved. You seem to think that there's quite a bit of inappropriate comment and so on, like when people, there's one that I remember in the book when you see people say to me, all is well. You are like, all is not well. Let's talk about that a bit, Mrs. Amissah-Arthur.
When somebody loses a husband,
spouse,
a child, a spouse, a child, a sibling, people come around and they mean well. They want to come and console you, sympathize with you, but not knowing exactly what to say, because you'll be surprised. Those who come are torn between how to handle the situation themselves.
Right.
In the attempt to say something to console you, sometimes they bruise. They add to the pain, if you like. They add to the pain. For example, somebody has lost a spouse, or let's say a child, and you come and you say, all is well, don't worry. Honestly, all is not well. I've lost a husband.
But they don't mean it literally.
About choice of words. Here's what I say, choice of words. You can say, I'm sorry for the loss.
You think that's more appropriate?
More appropriate.
I would just shut up.
And I say in the book, shut up and just be there for the person.
That's also okay.
If you can pray with the person, it's the best. If you cannot, just shut up and sit there and be there with the person.
Don't go and say the wrong thing.
Don't go and say the wrong thing. Some people come and hug you. For example, if before my husband died, you never hugged me, and you come and you hug me, it's a bit odd. So you should also know that you don't just go to somebody who's bereaved and ask paddies when you're really not paddies with them.
Is it not just your own peculiar ways that make you point out all these things?
Interestingly, since I wrote the book, people, one of the things this book has done is I'm doing speaking engagements on it. They invite me. I speak for 20 minutes, and question time can go to 2 hours, 3 hours. And the last question time, somebody got up and said, what I hate is it as well. This lady hadn't read my book.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're saying that what you say,
many people are talking. The one that I detest as a Christian They come and they say, Fama Nyame, give it to God. You know what? Your husband is in a better place. God needs him.
Isn't that nice?
As a Christian, and as a Christian, you too, we know the obvious, that anybody who commits their life to the Lord, when they die, they go and be with him. You do not come and tell me the obvious. At a time when I'm hurting, you don't tell me the obvious. Number two, who says God needs my husband? God doesn't need any of us. We need God. So to come and tell me that God needs him, no. No.
You find that inappropriate.
I find that inappropriate, very inappropriate. You know, when
Are you sure you are not? Okay.
When you lose somebody,
Yeah.
your nerves are raw,
Yeah.
emotions are heightened, and therefore, things that ordinarily you would say, you should think about it. For example, I'm there
Or
for
things
you.
that ordinarily you would take.
Listen, for
You are
example,
not able to take.
I'm there for you. Anything you need, call me. I've lost my husband. I'm not in a good frame of mind. You can't tell me anything I need, I should call you. I mean, really, what you mean is that you would help me. So go ahead and find out from those close to me how you can help. You tell me I should tell you what I need. At that point, that is not my worry. My worry is, if possible, how can my husband come back? If possible.
Yeah.
If not possible, how would I go through the state I'm in? These are the things that's worrying anybody who's bereaved.
Would you say that, therefore, that we are rather insensitive? Is that what you...
Part of it, yes. As I say in the book, the people who come to console you are made up of different people. Let's be honest here. There are some who are generally also so touched that they've come to sympathize with you. There are others who are coming to look and go and tell. The Besha are there for. They are there. We cannot run away from it. There are some also who have come, as it were, to stir it up, as it were.
Really?
So there are different people who've come, you see.
Yeah.
So I have a chapter where I talk about the toxic people,
Yeah,
the safe
I saw
people,
that.
the hypocrites, and the so on.
You have all these names for them, the hypocrites,
Yes,
the
because
toxic.
you see, let's be honest, some people come and go and tell, so that after they've come to your house, they are talking as if
Authorities on the
authority. And it happened when my husband died. People were on radio talking as if they left my house at 4 a.m. with me and came back when he died. Well, they hadn't come there. So there are all these kinds of people. And therefore, the way they communicate can sometimes be insensitive. All I want people to realize is that the bereaved is very sore. It's hurting so much that as much as possible, mind the words you use and be considerate and, just be there and shut up.
What are you doing to keep yourself busy these days? I mean, I know you've got these speaking engagements you talk about as well, but I also know you're busy. You in many ways, you're a librarian, you are in many ways an educationist. I know you donate books, read. What do you do to keep you occupied these days?
I run my NGO, and I continue to edit books, and I do a lot of church activities. And I look after my grandchildren.
You look after your grandchildren. And it's fulfilling. You are feeling a lot better these days. You look like you've gotten over a lot of the pain, I must say.
Very fulfilling.
Yeah.
Like I say in the book, being a Christian has helped a lot in me going through and finding my wings, as it were.
It puts your faith in God.
And to be honest with you, I do not know what people who don't know God do when they are hit by such a tragedy. Because I say to the glory of God that if I did not know him, I might have gone to pieces, because my husband died a sudden death, which really hit me so badly that, but for the grace of God that lifted me, it would have been disastrous. So my faith in God is what has pulled me through.
It's possible that those who don't know God discover him at that point, don't they?
They do. I say it in the book. I say it in the book that one of the things that the death of a loved one does is to bring you close to God. And there are some who I've interviewed who have said to me that we didn't know God. But when our spouse died, when our child died, we found God.
When I showed a bit of your book to a friend of mine, he looked at it, he read, he thought that perhaps you as a person are probably you are what is right? It's word were inflexible. Oh, I mean, she's not flexible at all. I mean, that must be difficult. To cope in life, you need to be a bit more flexible. What did you say to that? Are you because you come across also as quite stern. I mean, you've got this way you do things and so on. Is that, do you comment on that? Tell me what you think of that kind of
David, you
description.
see, when you are hit by a storm, whether it's death or loss of a job or an illness or anything, you have to make a choice. But you should remember that you will live with the consequences of the choice that you make. One, when my husband died, I could have stayed in the sorrow and sunk and cried and cried and cried. But you see, when you are hit with a blow and you fall down and you don't get up, you continue to fall down, nothing happens.
I hear you, but
I decided that I will not stay down. I decided that I'll get up and I'll move on. And because of my Christian beliefs, the Bible was there for me. Friends who shared the same views as me were there for me. And so this is a choice I made, and I was able to move through.
But when I mentioned it, I wasn't even referring to a description of you after the time your husband died. I'm referring to you way before. I mean, the reference was to one of the very first times that you came, if you like, into the public domain. It was over you scolding a teacher or something. I don't remember. This was years ago on television. People were very upset about it and thought that you were too harsh. That is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Do you think that you could do things differently so people be a little more accommodating, or do you just simply think, listen, this is me, take it or leave it?
Let me tell you something. The chalk issue is a very interesting issue because I donate things to schools. I was doing it since 86. This is not something I started doing when my husband became vice president. This is something I was doing since 86. And I didn't go to media. I do my thing. Even my husband as vice president, I wasn't doing a lot of media.
So this time you went to donate something again?
So the head teacher plus some old students of the school come to me and ask for books. The day before I was going to give them the books, they come and say, would like computers also. And I said, I don't have computers. I manage within 24 hours to find computers, and I take. I get there and we do the presentation. And the head teacher, after we've done the presentation, I found that they don't even have lights. So I said to her, you don't even have lights, and you come and ask the computers. There and then, I'm able to find somebody who's going to put poles there and do it for you. After that, she talks about chalk. And my words are that, I'll give you chalk today, I'll give you chalk tomorrow. But now listen. If you listen to the whole tape, when I said that, I said to her, don't you have PTA? Don't you have old students? Don't you have town people? And that the chief is here. Why don't you rally all these people to partner with government to give the chalk, and that sometimes we shouldn't let government be bothered so much and that partner and give these things. Then I said to her, if after a term you haven't been able through old students, all this to get the chalk, I'll come and give you check.
That's the real
When
thing.
The journalist was doing it, they cut all that part and said this. So out of context, you would think that here am I giving it to them, but in context, this is it. You know, I wasn't worried because I knew that it had been taken out of context. But I apologized.
Yes, I recall that.
And I'll tell you why I apologized. As a leader, if you do something and people think you didn't do right,
you should
even if you think you did right, you should apologize. And for me as a Christian, the Bible says that as much as it depends on you, live at peace. Romans 12:28, live at peace with everybody. If what I said in a way that offended people, I've apologized. But those who listened to the whole thing later on came. In fact, the journalist who reported actually came and apologized to me.
Interesting.
Apologized to me. So you see, I'm not set in stone. I'm not set in stone. It's just that I call a spade a spade. And for me, whether it's NDC or NPP, red will always be red, green will always be green. That is me.
What do you say as we try to wrap up this interview? What do you think or remember most of your time as the wife of a vice president, I don't call you second lady because I'm not sure what that means. I'm sorry if you would rather I call you second lady, but I call you the wife of the vice president.
In fact, if you had called me second lady, I would have given you a lecture.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because those who know me know that every time somebody has said second lady, I've corrected them.
Right.
There's nothing like second lady.
Yeah, okay.
It's the wife of the vice president.
Yeah.
So you are right. Yeah.
Those years?
That's a difficult one.
It's a difficult one.
It's a difficult one because, you know, I just continued doing what I was doing. Yeah. So really, I didn't go out to do anything different.
There's
so
no
for
big
me,
break for
yeah,
you.
there was no big break.
That's
so for me,
interesting.
there was no big break.
Yeah.
I just continued to do what I was doing.
Which is pretty much
And
not,
I'm still
now,
doing
as
it.
you say
Yeah,
that,
and I'm still
even
doing what
after,
I'm doing.
it,
yeah. So for me, there was no big break. No.
But your smile is back, Mrs. Amissah-Arthur.
Yes, my smile is back to the glory of God. My smile is back. And that's why I say that God gave me the strength and the grace and pulled me through. And therefore, I'm eternally grateful to God.
I'm happy your smile is back. Yeah. And I thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.